Hello all, welcome to my first online video. Something I've been meaning to do for quite a while, but now that we've all been kind of moved inside, it seemed more important than ever. I really truly believe that our mental health, physical health is so important right now, and movement can be a real wonderful thing. Along with just taking the time to really listen to your body, try to clear some mental space, which I know is really hard right now. So the first practice I'm going to lead us through will be just a short, grounding, calming yoga practice appropriate for everybody. Doesn't matter if you've never done yoga before. If you have a yoga mat and a couple of blocks or anything that can serve as blocks, if you like support, that might even just be some small Amazon boxes that you haven't thrown out yet. Feel free to grab those. If you have sensitive knees, you may also like a little towel or something to put underneath your knee for support when we're kneeling. But we'll get started out here. My favorite way to start a practice, which is in a nice supine position. So finding your way down onto your mat or on the ground. And when you find your way down, just taking a little moment to draw your shoulders down your back so you feel a little more space, a little more ease across the chest. If it feels okay for you, softly closing the eyes and just taking a little time here to notice your breath, right? Maybe for the first time today, being aware of each inhale, the breath moving in, and each exhale, the breath moving out. Inhale, feeling a little more space, that gentle lift of the chest, the belly. And with your exhale, notice the gentle fall. The rhythm of the breath, and perhaps almost feeling like an ocean wave. And if you're new to yoga, I often try to work with what's called Ujjayi breath, the breathing in and out through the nose. And of course, if you need to exhale through the mouth, feel free to do what feels comfortable for you here. Now you might have noticed, just following the breath, it's naturally started to lengthen, to deepen, and just the power of attention. And I invite you, if you have a little more space available, to just start to intentionally lengthen out the breath. See if you can make each inhale just a little longer than the last. And each exhale just a little more complete, trying to get all the air out of the lungs, making room for that next big breath, right? Making room for the new. And just taking a couple more breaths, just as you are. And the breath, a beautiful place to focus anytime the mind is starting to wander off to any million things right now. And on your next inhale here, let's take a nice full body stretch, just reaching your arms overhead, stretching the legs long, maybe even spreading through the fingers and toes, like a full body yawn. And then you can either just grab your left wrist overhead, or if it's okay for the shoulders, grab opposite hand to opposite elbow with that right forearm on top. We'll find banana pose, lightly lifting your shoulders off the mat and shinnying them gently over to the right, and then shinnying your feet over to the right. So you're just making a nice banana or crescent shape with the body. This is one of my favorite postures here. For a little deeper stretch, you could take your left ankle and cross it over the right. And you can also get a deeper stretch by just deepening the breath. Right? Each inhale, feeling a little extra space between the ribs on that left side. And take one more breath on this first side. And then with an inhale, just drawing back to center, take that full body stretch again, nice length. And then you could either just grasp your right wrist, or if it's okay for the shoulders, grabbing your opposite elbows, the left forearm on top. Lightly lift the shoulders to shimmy them to the left, and shimmy your feet over to the left, and finding that little banana shape. And again, if you like a little bit more, just resting your right ankle over the left ankle, and taking those full deep breaths into that open right side. And the breath, it really is such a powerful thing. It'll happen automatically for us all day. We don't have to think about it. But when we start to pay attention to it, we have so much power to control the breath and to use the breath to connect to the body, to stay present, and to use the breath to find just a little more space, more depth, maybe a little more release. Next, inhale again, drawing back to center, taking that full body stretch, reaching everything long. And then you can bend the knees and give them a little hug, a little squeeze into the chest. And it might feel really good here to just hug the knees in and ground through the low back. If you like, you could take a little rock side to side, or even start to draw a few little circles on the ceiling with the knees, just massaging out your low back. And then you can switch the grip to the backs of the thighs and take a few spinal rolls, just gently rocking up towards the sit bones, back to the shoulder blades, and eventually rocking yourself all the way up towards a seat. You can also just roll over to the side and press up to a seat if that feels better for you. Taking a moment to just find a nice tall seat here. You can always be seated up on a block or your blanket. Then we'll take a gentle twist, taking your right hand back behind you. Fingertips is a little kickstand so you keep length through the spine. Left hand over to the right knee, helping you twist. And you can use that breath here, inhaling a little taller up through crown of the head, and with the exhale, twisting a little deeper, right? Really drawing your navel towards the spine. And then inhaling back through center and taking that twist to the other side. Again, thinking about a nice tall spine, and with the exhale, twisting a little deeper around that nice tall axis. Inhaling back to center. And we'll find a tabletop position here. And just working to stack your shoulders over the wrists, the hips over the knees. Your palms could be right on your mat. Or if you have sensitive wrists, you might choose to use blocks underneath your hands. Or you could even come onto your fists. Can be a nice alternative. And we'll start with some cat and cow here. Right, so cow pose, you're dropping the belly and lifting your gaze, finding a little arch there. And then with the exhale to cat, drawing the belly wall in, arching the spine, dropping the head, tucking the tail. And your inhale back through cow, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze. Your exhale again, arching the spine, dropping the head, tucking the tail. And you might stay with just this cat and cow motion, or I often like to encourage people to just close the eyes and see if you can let some movement start to happen. Maybe you find a tight spot and you add a rock forward or back in your cat. Maybe you add more of a wag of the tail or dropping the hips back to the right, to the left. You can even bring it into the head, the neck, get a little funky with it. Dance in your tabletop like nobody's watching. Just kind of check out, how does your spine feel, your hips, your shoulders? And then you can take a little pause in your tabletop and move into thread the needle. So for this pose, you'll take your right arm, you can reach it up high to the sky for a nice little stretch, and then send the arm underneath your body. So you're threading this needle, rolling down to the shoulder, resting your temple. And you can either keep your left hand right out in front of you, you can stretch it out a little bit more, maybe even pushing into the palm to roll more weight in that right shoulder. Or you can take that arm and wrap it behind your back. It's also the option here to stretch your left leg back, just adding a little more weight in the shoulder, or to challenge your balance by floating the leg towards the sky. Knowing there is a little chance you might take a little quarter somersault, so if you do, you just put a smile on your face and get right back up. Couple more deep breaths here. And then with an inhale, pressing yourself back up, you can reach the right arm high, again, take a little stretch. And then switch it out, your right hand down, inhaling your left arm high, and just threading the needle to the other side. And then rolling to the shoulder, resting the temple. And you could always place a block or other support underneath the head if you need it here. You can keep your right hand where it is or stretch it out in front of you, maybe wrap it behind your back. And that option to stretch your right leg back or even take this into a bit of balance. Wherever you are, just working with those nice deep breaths and knowing there isn't one option that's inherently better than any other. It's just about what option feels good for you. When you're ready, pressing yourself back up, maybe reaching that left arm high again for a little stretch. And then you can set the palm down. And option to find our downward facing dog here. Spreading your fingers really wide on the mat, curling your toes under, and then pressing your chest and your hips back. Trying to find nice length through the spine, so that might mean keeping a little bit of a bend in the knees. And if you notice that space between your thumb and pointer finger tenting up off the earth, really try to seal the hands into the mat as you press the chest back. Might feel good to pedal out your feet a little bit. And then we'll just start to bend the knees and slowly walk your feet up towards the top of the mat, finding a forward fold here. And I encourage a really nice deep bend in the knees to start with, as much as you need, so you can really let the chest and head hang heavy, maybe even letting the chest rest on the thighs. And your hands could just drape. You could grab your opposite elbows for ragdoll arms, or even grip around the back of your thighs. And then if you want a little deeper stretch here, you can find that not by forcing the legs straight, but just by pushing your feet down into the mat. And as you push your feet down, you'll feel the legs activate. The sit bones lift a little bit higher. Maybe shake out the head if you carry tension in the neck. I know I do. See if you can let it drop. And then with our inhale, we'll find a halfway lift. Your hands can come to your shins as you try to press length through your spine, finding one long line, tail through crown of the head, and then draw your shoulders down the back. Draw your belly wall in. Feel nice and strong in this position. And then with the exhale, fold forward. Let's take one more of those. Inhale to your halfway lift, lengthen. And then exhale to fold. And next inhale, we can rise up, sweeping the arms overhead, maybe even a very gentle back bend at the top. And then exhale, fold forward. And inhale, a halfway lift. And then exhale, fold. You can have hands to the ground, or I like to take hands to blocks here. And then just step your left foot back, a nice long stride, and you can drop your back knee down. So this is our low lunge here. And if you have a sensitive back knee, you could put your towel under your knee, or even fold your mat over on the side if you're using a mat. And you might start this posture here really low and grounded. Since we have the back knee down for support, this is one pose where it's okay if your knee overshoots the front ankle, but if it overshoots by a lot, you can scooch the foot forward a little more, give yourself a longer stride. Okay? So if it feels good here to just drop into this pose, you could let the chest hang heavy, pressing the front thigh forward. You could let the head hang heavy. If you like to make this posture a little more active, I encourage activating through the legs, thinking about pushing your right foot down a little bit and drawing your right hip back just a touch. You may not be able to see that action here, but you will when we get to the second side. You can keep your hands down low, or maybe it feels good to walk your hands up to that front thigh, and still keeping that front hip drawing back just a touch, pressing both hips evenly forward and down. Might even feel good to float your arms up overhead, find a little more extension up and out of the waist, or to open up through the chest a little bit. You might start to bend the elbows, lift the gaze. And if you're in that little back bend, just draw back to center here, and then take your hands down to your blocks again, or to the ground, and press the hips back for a little half split. And you can draw the blocks back a little bit. You can even shimmy the front foot forward. Your choice here, you can point through this front foot, or flex and draw the toes back towards the face. That might give you a little deeper stretch here. Okay. Blocks, if you're using them, can be at any height. And then you might think about drawing that right hip back again. It might feel like you're trying to drag the heel back into the mat towards you. If you're using your blocks, a nice little cheat here, with a little bend in the elbows, you can press your palms into the blocks and lever your chest forward, getting a deeper stretch for the hamstring and for the low back. 2 more breaths here. And then with your inhale, draw forward again to that low lunge position. And you might like a block under that left hand, or the hand can be to the ground. And we'll roll the right arm open to the sky, so twisting towards the right. Your hand can stay high, or it might feel better to wrap that top arm behind your back. Better for the shoulder, or that might keep you rolling open. And your back knee can stay down, or take a moment here, curl your back toes under and power up through that back leg to lift the knee. And you might draw the front hip back just a little bit. Think about drawing your belly wall in and twisting from the belly button up. 1 more big breath. And then untwist. Hands may come again to the blocks. And just step the back foot forward to meet your front foot. Inhale to your halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale to fold. And inhale, you can rise up, sweeping the arms overhead. Maybe a little back bend there at the top. And exhale, fold forward. And inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And we'll find that second side, stepping your right foot way back, letting the back knee drop down. And finding our low lunge here. Again, patting the back knee if that feels better for you, especially if you've had any knee issues. And blocks could be a great option for your hands here. Feel free to just let this pose be heavy and grounding if you like to just let yourself dump forward into it. And a little more passive stretch. I really like the active variation on this pose to strengthen the glutes and open the hip flexor a little more, which are really important if you're spending a little more time sitting right now. So pushing down through the left foot, drawing the left hip back a little bit so the hips are more even. You can get a lot of work here staying nice and low, or see if you can keep the legs strong. Walk the hands up the front thigh, and that idea the left hip is gently drawing back just a touch so you feel the glute working, hips pressing forward, and maybe floating the arms overhead for a little more lift. Or adding that bend of the elbows, a little lift of the heart, a little more opening. And if you're in that little back bend, bringing your gaze back to center, and then we'll take the hands down to the ground or your blocks and press the hips back for a little half split. And you can bring the blocks back with you. Take them at whatever height feels good. I've got short little arms, so I love the use of blocks to bring the ground a little closer to me. And you can point the front foot or choose that flex. That's my preference usually. And for a little deeper stretch, draw the left hip back just a touch. Might feel like you're dragging the heel down into the mat. Or for a little more, that gentle bend in the elbows on your blocks, pressing the palms into the blocks to help lever the chest forward. Another breath here. And then with the next inhale, draw forward towards that lunge again. You can take your blocks with you. Right hand will be down to the ground of your block, left arm rolling open towards the sky, or maybe wrapping the arm behind your back. Your gaze can be up towards the sky if that feels good to bring the twist through the neck, but don't force anything, right? Let it be a little soft. If you like to here, curling the back toes under, powering up through that back leg to lift the knee. Again, you might draw the left hip back just a smidge. Draw your belly wall in and twist from the belly button up. One more breath. And then we'll untwist and stepping the back foot forward to meet the front foot. Inhale to your halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And then inhale, sweep the arms overhead. One more little back bend if it feels good. And exhale, fold forward. And inhale, a halfway lift. We'll exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back. And if you like to work in a nice strong plank here for a moment, feel free. Right? Pressing through the palms, strong through the core, strong legs. You can always drop the knees down to the ground. Right? Or whenever you're ready, just slowly lower all the way down to your belly. Working here into Sphinx pose, which is one of my favorite gentle back bends. Your feet can be as wide as the mat here or whatever feels good. And the idea is to stack your shoulders right over the elbows, and that's width wide as well, so you're not bowed out to the side. I like to call it the I Dream of Jeannie check. Make sure you can grab around your arms, you've got the right width. Then here, if you have any pinch in the low back, take a moment and try to draw your belly wall in. The idea of drawing navel towards the spine, just so you support the low back with your core. You can stay just as you are, or start to pull the mat back towards you with your palms and just feel the chest traction up and forward. You can stay right here again, or if you're looking for a deeper back bend, take your palms out towards the edges of the mat, like little flippers for seal pose, pressing down through the palms to straighten the arms. You might even waddle your flippers in a little closer, right? Or bend the knees to give yourself a seal tail. Maybe you want to drop the head back like you could balance a little red ball on your nose, be a circus seal. And knowing that more isn't always better, so find your sweet spot. And if you came too far, you can lower right back down into that Sphinx pose. And when you're ready, lower all the way down. You can stack your palms, rest your forehead on your hands, and maybe windshield wiper out the feet a few times. Just bending the knees, swishing your feet side to side. And let the legs drop long and heavy behind you. And move into one of my favorite shoulder stretches. And take your left arm out to the side, so you're making like half of a capital T. Turn your left cheek to the mat or a block, and then just roll yourself up to that left side, however much you like. You could always use a little body pillow here on your right side for support. If you want a little bit more, you might plant your right foot behind you or wrap your right arm behind you. Right, rolling only however much weight feels good into the shoulder. This can be a really nice one if you spent a lot of time rounded forward. I think we're probably all spending a little too much time on the internet right now. This doesn't count, by the way. Couple more breaths on this first side. And then just roll back towards the belly. And we'll find the other side. It's your right arm reaching out to the side, right cheek to the mat, and rolling yourself up. However much or however little weight feels good. Knowing one side might be very different from the other. Yoga can be a really great practice to find where your little asymmetries lie, and then maybe investigate why you might be tighter on one side than the other. And a lot of little habits that we have that we might not be aware of, or maybe even ones that we're totally aware of but are hard to change. I've been carrying all of my bags on my right shoulder for decades now. When you're ready, again, just choosing to roll back to the belly, slow, controlled, and then press back to a little child's pose. Taking the knees wide, toes touch, letting the hips drop back heavy to the heels. You could always pad a blanket under the knees here, or some people might like to take blocks between their heels and their seat, right? Especially if you have issue with compression in the knees. And just letting your forehead rest, taking a few full deep breaths here, right? Trying to inflate your entire back with the breath. And then we'll walk the hands back in to lift yourself up. We'll make our way back onto our backs here. And this is where you might really enjoy to have blocks or even a nice sturdy pillow or other type of cushion. We'll find a supported bridge pose. So when you recline onto your back, feel free to take a nice full body stretch again. And then bend the knees. You can give them a little hug, squeeze, take a little rock if you like. And then you can plant the feet right below the seat, and you'll just push down through your feet enough to lift your hips up and slide your block or blocks right underneath your low back. And it's kind of around the sacrum area, the hips, right? Find where it feels comfortable and a height that feels comfortable. If you have blocks, the nice thing is you can kind of set them up on whatever height feels good for you. And then trying to find that space across the chest again, let the arms drape. You can keep your feet right below the seat, or slowly start to walk your feet towards the top of your mat, so you're just extending the legs. I say slowly because that can deepen the back bend quite a bit. And if your low back says no, you want to be able to listen to that, right? Another option that could feel good would be to reach the arms overhead and let them drape, which could be a love it or a leave it. So if you check that out and it's not for you, it's okay. You can come back to whatever part of this position felt best for you. And just taking a few breaths, seeing if you can really let the hips be heavy. Each exhale is a chance to let something go, to let something fall a little heavier towards the mat. And know that you are welcome to work through this sequence on your own and to spend as much time in these postures as you like. It could feel good to spend a few minutes in this pose. Okay, but for now we'll transition this into legs up the wall. If you're on your blocks on a tall setting, you might shift it to its lower setting. This could just be your hands or blocks under your low back, and you'll take your feet straight up to the sky. You can also turn yourself around and take your legs all the way up a wall, which can be really nice and relaxing. And legs up the wall is posture that's thought to be really good for calming anxiety, so something we could all probably use a little bit of right now. Returning to those nice full deep breaths, following the inhales, and following the exhales, and letting the breath deepen. And I invite you to stay right here in legs up the wall if it feels really good for you. If you're ready to complete your practice, you can gently remove the blocks, maybe give the knees a little hug, a little squeeze to ground. And then finding our Shavasana, or our most important part of our practice where everything integrates. So just like the start of our little class here, drawing the shoulders down the back, finding that space across the chest. Eyes softly closed if that's okay, and just inviting in that easy breath and just allowing yourself to be. Stay in your Shavasana, that final resting pose, as long as it feels good. Whenever you're ready to come out, just gently inviting movement back to the body. Maybe you're rolling out your ankles or wrists, or wiggling out your fingers or toes. Another full body stretch might feel nice. Or bending the knees, rolling over to the right or the left, pause. And then pressing up to that easy seat to seal in your practice. And you might choose to soften the eyes or draw hands to the heart. And wherever you are, just taking a moment to offer yourself a little bit of gratitude, right? Some compassion, and just thanking yourself for taking this time for yourself for this practice. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you for joining my first ever little online class, and this is Little Yogi Bee, or Brenda, with Be True Movement. If you liked this content today, if you'd like to see more, please reach out, contact me, or on the website you'll see a little coffee cup icon for Buy Me a Coffee. And that's how you can donate. You can donate in increments of $3. I won't actually go out and buy a coffee. I'm way too frugal for that. I like my little espresso machine at home. But it will help support me and my ability to keep teaching movement during these hard times right now. So thank you in advance for any of your support.